Om Parabrahmaya Vidmahe Shiva Tatvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohan Prachodayat. Om Parabrahmaya Vidmahe Shiva Tatvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohan Prachodayat. Om Parabrahmaya Vidmahe Shiva Tatvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohan Prachodayat. Om Shri Sai Nataya Namah. Om Shri Sai Nataya Namah. Om Shri Sai Nataya Namah. In chapter 5, we are going to be reading about Baba's return with Chand Patel's marriage party, welcomed and addressed as Sai, the contact with other saints, his dress and his daily routine, the story of the Padukas, the wrestling bout with Modan and the change in life, turning water into oil, and the pseudo-guru Jawar Ali. Return with Chand Patel's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Siddhi after his disappearance. There lived in Aurangabad district, the Nizam state, in a village called Dup, a well-to-do Mohammedan gentleman by the name of Chand Patel. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months, he made a diligent search but could not get a trace of the mare. After being disappointed, he returned to Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After traveling 4 kos and a half, he came on the way to a mango tree, under the foot of which a Ratna, or queer fellow, sat. He had a cap on his head, wore a kafni or a long robe, and had a satka, a short stick, under his armpit, and he was preparing to smoke a chilam or pipe. On seeing Chand Patel pass by, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and rest a while. The fakir asked him about the saddle. Chand Patel replied that it was of his mare, which was lost. The queer fellow or fakir asked him to make a search in the nala close by. He went, and the wonder of wonders, he found the mare. He thought that this fakir was not an ordinary man, but an Avalia, a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chilam was ready for being smoked, but 2 things were wanting. 1, the fire to light the pipe, and 2, the water to wet the chapi, which is a piece of cloth through which the smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcefully into the ground, and out came live burning coal, which he had put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground, from where water began to ooze. The chapi was wetted with that water and then wrung out and wrapped around the pipe. Thus, everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chilam and then gave it also to Chand Patel. On seeing this, Chand Patel was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. The next day, he went to the Patel's house and stayed there for some time. The Patel was a village officer of Dup. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was from Siddhi. So Patel made preparations to start for Siddhi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch, and the party returned to Dup, except the fakir alone stayed in Siddhi and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai. When the marriage party came to Siddhi, it alighted at the foot of the Banyan tree in Bhagat Malsapati's field, near the Kanduba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Kanduba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Kanduba's temple, and the members of the party descended one by one. And the fakir also got down. Bhagat Malsapati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, "Yes, Sai," which is "Welcome, Sai." Others also addressed him as Sai, and thenceforth he became known as Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in the deserted masjid. One saint named Devdas was living in Shirdi for many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavadi and sometime lived alone. Then came another saint by the name of Jankidas. Baba spent most of his time talking with him, or Jankidas went to Baba's residence. Also one Vaishya householder saint from Puntambe by the name of Ganga Gir was always frequently in Shirdi. When he saw Sai Baba carrying pitchers of water in both hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shirdi that it got its precious jewel. This man carrying the water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land was lucky and meritorious, it secured this jewel." So also one famous saint by the name of Anand Nath of Yawala Math, a disciple of Akkalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi with some Shirdi people. When he saw Sai, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a gur or ordinary stone, but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to Yawala. This was said while Sai was a youngster. Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Sai Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, which is 3 miles away from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, Jay and Jai, and after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by the name of Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 earthen pitchers. With these, Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they were broken, as they were made of raw earth and not baked. The next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Sai Baba's toil and labor, there grew a flower garden. On this site at present stands a big mansion, the Samadhi Mandir of Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of the Padakas or footprints under the neem tree. A devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj by the name of Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bakar worshipped the photo of Akkalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akkalkot in the Sholapur district, taking the darshana of the Padukas of the Maharaj and offering his sincere worship there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akkalkot Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bai changed his plan and came to Shirdi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was happy. As a reminiscence of this vision, he prepared the Padukas and installed them on an auspicious day of Shravan, which is Shaka 1834, about 1912 AD, under the neem tree, with due ceremonies and formalities conducted by Dada Kelka and Upasani. One Dikshit Brahmin was appointed for worship, and the management was entrusted to the devotee Sagun. The complete version of the story. Mr. B.V. Dio, retired Mamlatar of Thana, a great devotee of Sai Baba, made and inquired about this matter with Sagun Meru Naik and Govind Kamlakar Dixit, and published a full version of the Padakas in Sai Leela Volume 11, Number 1, page 25. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shakar, one Dr. Ramarao Kotare of Bombay came to Siddhi for Baba's darshana. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bakar accompanied him. The compounder and Bhai became intimate with Sugan Meru Naik and J.K. Dikshit. While discussing things, these persons thought that there must be some memorial of the fact that Sai Baba's first coming to Siddhi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stones. Then Bhai's friend the compounder suggested that if this matter be made known to his master, Dr. Ramarao Kotare, who would prepare nice padukas for this purpose. All liked the proposal and the Dr. Kotare was informed of it. He came to Siddhi and drew a plan of the padukas. He went to Upsani Maharaj in the Kanduba's temple and showed him his plan. The latter made improvements, drew lotuses, conch, flowers, dis, and man, and suggested that the following shakla or verse regarding the neem's greatness and Baba's yogi powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows. Sada nim bhakvikshya muladi vasat. Sudar sravinyam tikta mapi apriyam tam. Taram kalpa vikra sadikam sadra yatam namaneshwaram sadgurum sainatam. Upsani's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The padukas were made in Bombay and sent to Siddhi with the compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnima, 15th of Sharvan. On that day at 11 a.m., G.K. Dikshit brought them on his head from the Kanduba's temple to Dwakamai, the masjid, in procession. Baba touched the padukas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install them under the foot of the neem tree. The day before, one Parsi devotee of Bombay named Pashta Shet sent 25 rupees by money order. Baba gave the sum for the installation of the padukas. The total expense of the installation came up to 100 rupees, out of which 75 rupees were collected by subscriptions. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dikshit worshipped the padukas daily, and then Lakshman Kasheshwar Jakadi did this. In the first 5 years, Dr. Kotare sent 2 rupees per month for lighting, and he also sent the railing round the padukas. The expense of bringing the railing from the station to Siddhi presently is 7.5 rupees, and the roofing was paid by Sagun Meru Naik. Now Jakadi, a Nana Pujari, does the worship, and Sugan Meru Naik offers the Naivedya and lights the lamps in the evening. Bhai Krishnaji was originally a devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj. He had come to Siddhi at the installation of the padukas in Shaka 1834 on his way to Akkalkot. He wanted to go to Akkalkot after taking the darshana of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akkalkot? Why do you go there? The incumbent Maharaj of that place is here, myself." Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Akkalkot. He came to Siddhi off and on after the installation of the padukas. Mr. B.V. Dio concluded that the Himmat Pant did not know these details. Had he known them, he would have not failed to depict them in his Sai Charitra. Wrestling bout with Modan Tamboli and the change in life. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shirdi by the name Modan Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some items, and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned the kafni, wore a langot or a waistband, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his seat and a sackcloth for his bed, and was content with wearing torn and worn-out rags. He always said, "Poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The lord is always brother or befriender of the poor." Ganga Gir was also a very fond wrestler. While he was wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion came over him, and at the proper time he heard a voice of an adept saying that he should wear out his body playing with God. He too gave up samsara and turned towards God realization. He established a math on the banks of the river near Kutambe and lived there with disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day he sat under the neem tree, sometimes under the shade of a branch of a babu tree, near the stream at the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go at times to Nimagaon. There he frequented the house of Bala Sahib Dingale. Baba loved Mr. Bala Sahib. His younger brother, named Nana Sahib, had no son, though he married a second wife. Bala Sahib sent Nana Sahib for taking darshana of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nana Sahib got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reach Ahmednagar. From then, Nana Sahib, Chandokar, and Keshav Chundambar, and many others came to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during the day and slept at night in an old dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of a chilam, tobacco, a tamaril or tin pot, long flowing kafni, a piece of cloth round his head, and a satka, a short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on his head was twisted like matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes, no sandals, and a piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a kupan, a waistcloth band, and for warding off cold he sat in front of the duni, a sacred fire, facing south with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In this duni, he offered as oblation, egoism, desires, and all thoughts, and always uttered Allah Malik, God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimension, where all the devotees came and saw him. After 1912 AD, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Baba came to live in this masjid. He lived for a long time in a place, takia, with gungur or small bells on his legs. Baba danced beautifully and sang with tender love. Turning water into oil. Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The Baniyas who supplied the oil gratis once met together and decided not to give him oil. When, as usual, Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamps. The Banias were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tamaril or tin pot, which contained very little or a few drops of oil, put water into it and drank it, and then forced it to fall in the container. After consecrating the tin pot in this way, he took water in the tin pot and filled the lamps and lit them. To the surprise and dismay of the watching Banias, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The Banias repented and apologized. Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in the future. The Sudha Guru Jawhar Ali. 5 years after the wrestling bout mentioned above, one fakir from Ahmednagar by the name Jawhar Ali came to Rahata and with his disciples and stayed in Bakal, a spacious room in the Virabhadra temple. The fakir was learned and he could repeat the whole Quran and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of the people, he started to build a Idgah, a wall before which Mohammedans pray on Idgah Day, near the Virabhadra temple. There was some quarrel about this affair, on account of which Jawhar Ali had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shudri and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk and began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru or teacher never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the defects of the Guru. Still, he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shidri off and on, but their mainstay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba and Shidri did not like that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata. They went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shidri. When they met Baba near the Idgah and told the purpose of which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was ill-tempered fellow and would not leave him, and they should better return to Shidri without him before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some discussion and altercation, and it was finally decided that both the Guru and the Chela should return to Shiddi. And so they returned and lived in Shiddi. But a few days after, the Guru was tested by Devdas and was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shiddi with the marriage party, Devdas, aged about 10 or 11, came to Shiddi and lived in the Maruti temple. Devdas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was dispassion incarnate and a jnani. Many persons, namely Tatyakota, Kashinath, and others, regarded him as their guru. They brought Jawhar Ali in his presence, and the discussion that followed. Jawhar was worsted and fled from Shiddi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shiddi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba was his chela was cleared away and he was repented. Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed the actual conduct of how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end, being self-realization. This story is told here according to the version given by Mal Sapati, a great devotee of Baba. In the next chapter, we will describe Rama Navami festival and the masjid, its conditions and its latter improvements. Bow to Shri Sai, peace to all. Chapter 6. In this chapter, what is read will describe the efficacy of the touch of Guru's hand, Rama Navami festival, its origin, transformation, as well as the repairs of the masjid. Before describing Rama Navami festival and the masjid repairs, the author makes some preliminary remarks about Satguru as follows. Efficacy of the touch of Guru's hand. Where real or Satguru is the helmsman, he is sure to carry us safely and easily beyond the worldly oceans. The word Satguru brings to mind Sai Baba. He appears to me as if standing before me and applying udi or sacred ashes to my forehead and placing his hand of blessing on my head. Then joy fills my heart and love overflows through my eyes. Wonderful is the power of the touch of Guru's hand. The subtle body consisting of thoughts and desires, which cannot be burnt by the world-dissolving fire, is destroyed by the mere touch of the Guru's hand, and the sins of the many past lives are cleaned and washed away. Even the speech of those whose head feels annoyed when they hear religious or godly talks attains calmness. The seeing of Sai Baba's handsome form chokes our throats with joy, makes our eyes overflow with tears, and overwhelms our heart with emotions. It awakens in us, I am He, Brahman, consciousness, manifests the joy of self-realization, and dissolves the distinction of thou and I. Then and there makes us one with the Supreme, one reality. When I begin to read scriptures, at every step I am reminded of my Satguru, and Sai Baba assumes the form of Ramakrishna and makes me listen to his life. For instance, when I sit and listen to the Bhagavad Gita, Sai becomes Krishna from top to toe, and I think he sings in the Bhagavad and Uddhava Gita, the song of teachings of Lord Krishna and his disciple Uddhava, for the welfare of the devotees. When I began to chit-chat, I am once put in mind of Sai's stories, enabling me to give suitable illustrations. When I myself start to write anything, I cannot compose a few words or sentences, but when he of his own accord makes me write, I go on writing and writing, and there's no end to it. When the disciple's egoism pops up, he presses it down with his hand, giving him his own power, makes him gain his object, and thus satisfies and blesses him. If anyone prostrates before Sai and surrenders heart and soul to him, then unsolicited, all chief objects of life, the dharma, righteousness, artha, wealth, kama, desire, and moksha, deliverance, are easily and unsolicitedly attained. 4 paths, being karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti, lead us separately to God. Of these, a path of bhakti is thorny and full of pits and ditches, and thus difficult to traverse. But if you rely on your Satguru, avoid the pits and thorns, and walk straight, it will take you to the destination, which is God. So says definitely Sai Baba. After philosophizing about the self-existent Brahman, his power Maya, and to create this world and world created, and stating that all these 3 are ultimately one and in the same, the author quotes Sai Baba's words, guaranteeing the welfare of the Bhaktas. There will never be any death or scarcity regarding food and clothes in any devotee's home. It is my special characteristic that I always look to provide for the welfare of those devotees who worship me wholeheartedly, with their minds ever fixed on me. Lord Krishna has also said the same in the Gita. Therefore, strive not much for food and clothes. If you want anything, beg of the Lord, leave worldly honors. Try to get the Lord's grace and blessings, and be honored in his court. Do not be deluded by the worldly honor. The form of the deity should be firmly fixed in the mind. Let all senses and mind be ever devoted to the worship of the Lord. Let there be no attraction for anything. Fix the mind in remembering me always, so that it will not wander elsewhere, towards body, wealth, and home. Then it will be calm, peaceful, and carefree. This is the sign of the mind, being well engaged in good company. If the mind is vagrant, it cannot be called well merged. After quoting these words, the author goes on to relate the story of Ramanavami festival in Shuddhi. As Ramanavami is the greatest festival celebrated in Shuddhi, another fuller account, as published in the Sai Leela magazine in 1925, page 197, is also referred, and a summary of the festival as related in both accounts are attempted here. Origin. One Mr. Gopal Rao Gund was a circle inspector in Koppelgaon. He was a great devotee of Baba. He had 3 wives but had no issue. With Sai Baba's blessings, a son was born to him. In the joy that he felt regarding the event, an idea of celebrating a fair or urus occurred to him in the year 1897. And he placed it for consideration before the Shuddhi devotees, being Tatya Patel, Dada Kota Patel, and Madhvrao Deshpande. They all approved of the idea and got Sai Baba's permission and blessings. Then an application for getting the collective sanction for celebrating the Urus was made. But as the village of Kulkani reported against holding the fair, the sanction was refused. But as Sai Baba had blessed it, they tried again and ultimately succeeded in getting the collective sanction. The day of the Urus was fixed on the Ramanavami day, after consultation with Sai Baba. It seems he had some end view in this, being the unification of the 2 fairs or festivals, the Urus and Ramanavami, and the unification of 2 communities, the Hindus and the Mohammedans, as future events showed, and this end or object was achieved. Though the permission was obtained, but other difficulties cropped up. Shuddhi was a village, and there was scarcity of water. There were 2 wells in the village. The one in use dried up soon, and the water from the second was brackish. The brackish water was soon turned into a sweet one by Sai Baba, by throwing flowers into it. The water of this well was insufficient, so Tatya Patel had arranged to get water from the well by fixing moats or leather sacks thereon at a considerable distance. Temporary shops had to be constructed and wrestling bouts arranged. Gopal Rao Gund had a friend by the name of Damu Anna Khasar from Ahmednagar. He also similarly unhappy in the matter of the progeny, though he married 2 wives. Sai Baba too blessed him with sons, and Mr. Gund prevailed upon his friend to prepare and supply 1 simple flag for the procession of the fair. He also succeeded in including Mr. Nana Sahib Nimonkar to supply another embroidered flag. Both these flags were taken in procession through the village and finally fixed at the 2 ends of the corners of the masjid, which is called by Sai Baba as Dwakamai. This is being done even now. The sandal procession. There was another procession which was started in this fair. This idea of the sandal procession originated with one Mr. Amir Shakar Dalal, a Mohammedan Bhakta from Kola. This procession is held in honor of the great Muslim saints. Sandal, i.e. chandan paste or scrapings, were put in the thali, which is flat dishes, and these were carried with incense sticks burning before in the procession to accompanied band and music through the village, and then after returning to the masjid, where the contents of the dishes were thrown on the mimbar or the walls of the masjid with hands. This work was managed by Mr. Amir Shakar for the first 3 years, and then afterwards by his wife. So on the day, the two processions, the flags by the Hindus and the sandal by the Muslims, went on side by side and are still going on without any hitch. Arrangement. This day was very dear and sacred to the devotees of Sai Baba. Most of them turned out on occasion and took the leading part in the management of the fair. Tatya Kota Patel looked to all outward affairs, and the internal management was entirely left to one, Radhakrishna Mai, a female devotee of Baba. Her residence was full of guests on the occasion, and she had to look to their needs and also arrange for all the paraphernalia of the fair. Another work which she willingly did was to wash out and clean and whitewash the entire masjid. Its walls and floor, which were blackened, were full of soot on account of the ever-burning dhuni, the sacred fire of Sai Baba. This work she did during the night when Sai Baba went to sleep every alternate day in the Chavadi. She had to take out all the things, including the dhuni, and after thorough cleaning and whitewashing, replace them as they were before. Feeding the poor, which was so dear to Sai Baba, was also a great item in this fair. For this purpose, cooking on a grand scale and preparing various sweet dishes was done in Radhakrishna Mai's lodging, and various rich and wealthy devotees took a leading part in this affair. Transformation of Urus into the Rama Navami festival. Things were going on this way, and the fair was gradually increasing in importance until 1912 AD, when a change took place. That year, one devotee, Mr. Krishna Rao Jageshwara Bhishma, the author of the pamphlet Sai Sugan Upasana, came to the fair with Dada Sahib Kapade of Amrati, and was staying on the previous day in Dikshit Wada. While he was lying on the veranda, and while Mr. Lakshman Rao, alias Kaka Mahajani, was walking down with puja materials to the masjid, a new thought arose in his mind, and he accosted the latter thus. There is some providential arrangements in the fact that the Urus fair is celebrated in Shuddhi on the Rama Navami day. This day is very dear to all Hindus, and why not begin the Rama Navami festival? The celebration of the birth of Sri Ramakrishna here on this day. Kaka Mahajani liked the idea, and it was arranged to get Baba's permission in this matter. The main difficulty was how to secure the Haridas, who would perform the kirtan and sing the glories of the Lord on the occasion. But Bhishma solved this difficulty by saying that his Rama Akyan, the composition of Rama's birth, was ready, and he would do the kirtan himself, while Kaka Mahajani should play the harmonium. It was also arranged to get the Suntavada, the ginger powder mixed with sugar, as prasad, prepared by Ramakrishna Mai. So they immediately went to the masjid to get Baba's permission. Baba, who knew all things and what was passing there, asked Mahajani as to what was going on in the Vada. Being rather perturbed, Mahajani could not catch the purpose of the question and remained silent. Then Baba asked Bhishma what he had to say. He explained the idea of celebrating Ramanavami festival and asked for Baba's permission, and Baba gladly gave it. All rejoiced and made preparations for the Jayanti festival. The next day, the masjid was decorated with buntings. A cradle was supplied by Radha Krishna Mai and placed in front of Baba's seat, and the proceedings started. Bhishma stood up for the kirtan and Mahajani played the harmonium. Baba sent a man to call Mahajani. He was hesitant to go, doubting whether Baba would allow the festival to go on. But when he went to Baba, the latter asked him as to what was going on and why was the cradle placed there. He answered that the Ramanavami festival had commenced and the cradle was put there for that purpose. Baba took a garland from the nimbar and placed it around his neck and sent another garland for Bhishma. Then commenced the kirtan. When it came to a close, pounds of sounds of victory to Rama went up, and the gulal or red powder was thrown up all round amidst to the band and music. Everybody was overjoyed when suddenly a roaring was heard. The red powder thrown promiscuously all round went up and somehow entered Baba's eye. Baba got wild and began to scold and abuse loudly. People got frightened by the scene and took to their heels. Those intimate devotees who knew Baba well took these scoldings and outpourings of Baba as a blessing in disguise. They thought that when Rama was born, it was proper for Baba to get wild and enraged, to kill Ravana and his demons in the form of egoism and wicked thoughts. Besides, they knew that whenever a new thing was undertaken at Shuddhi, it was usual for Baba to get wild and angry, and so they kept quiet. Radha Krishna Mai was rather afraid and thought that Baba might break her cradle, and asked Mahajani to get the cradle back. When he went to loosen and unfasten the cradle, Baba went to him and asked him not to remove it. Then after some time, Baba became calm, and that day program, including the Maha Puja and the Aarti, was finished. Later on, Mr. Mahajani asked Baba for permission to remove the cradle. Baba refused, the same saying that the festival was not yet finished. The next day, another kirtan and Gopal Kala ceremony, which is when an earthen pot containing parched rice mixed with curd is hung, and only to be broken after the kirtan, and the contents distributed to all. As this was done by Lord Krishna amongst his cowherd or friends. That was performed, and then Baba allowed the cradle to be removed. While the Ramanavami festival was thus going on, the procession of the two flags by day and of the sandal by night went off with the usual pomp and show. From this time onwards, the Uras of Baba was transformed to the Ramanavami festival. From next year, which was 1913, the items of the program of the Ramanavami began to increase. Radha Krishna Mai started Nama Sapta, which is singing the glory of God's name continuously day and night for 7 days, from the first Charitra. For this, all devotees took part by turns, and she also joined it, sometimes early in the morning. As the Ramanavami festival is celebrated in many places all over the country, the difficulty of getting a Haridas was felt again. But 5 or 6 days before the festival, Mahajani met accidentally Bala Buva Mali, who was known as a modern Tukaram, and got him to do the kirtan the next year. The next year, 1914, another Bala Buva Satakar of Brihadsada Kavata, district Satara, could not act as the Haridas in his own town, as the plague was prevailing in his town. And so he came to Shirdi. With Baba's permission, which was secured through Kaka Sahib Dixit, he did the Kirtan and was sufficiently recompensed for his labor. The difficulty of getting the new Haridas every year was finally solved from 1914 by Sai Baba, as he entrusted this function to Das Ganu Maharaj permanently. And since that time, he has been successfully and creditably conducting that function up till now. Since 1912, this festival began to grow gradually year by year. From the 8th to the 12th of Chaitra, Shirdi looked like a beehive of men. Shops began to increase. Celebrated wrestlers took part in wrestling bouts. Feeding of the poor was done in a grander scale. Hard work and sincere efforts of Radhakrishna Mai turned Shirdi into a Sansthan, a state. Paraphernalia increased. A beautiful horse, palanquin, chariot, and many silver things like pots, buckets, pictures, and mirrors were presented. Elephants were also sent for the procession. Though through all of this, paraphernalia increased enormously, Baba ignored all these things and maintained his simplicity as before. It is to be noted that both the Hindus and Mohammedans have been working in union in both processions, and during the entire festival, there has been no hitch or quarrel between them at all so far. First, about 5,000 to 7,000 people used to collect, but that figure went up to 75,000 in some years. Still, there was no outbreak of any epidemic or riots worth the name during so past many years. The repairs to the masjid. Another important idea occurred to Gopal Gund just as he started the Urus or the fair. He thought that he should put the masjid in order. So in order to carry out the repairs, he collected stones and got them dressed. But this work was not assigned to him. This was reserved for Nana Sahib Chandokar and the pavement work by Kaka Sahib Dixit. First, Baba was unwilling to allow them to have these works done. But with the intervention of Mahal Sapati, a local devotee of Baba, his permission was secured. When the pavement was completed in one night in the masjid, Baba took a small gadi for his seat, discarding the usual piece of sack, the cloth used till then. In 1911, the Sabha Mandap, or the courtyard, was also put in order, with the great labor and effort. The open space in front of the masjid was very small and inconvenient. Kaka Sahib Dixit wanted to extend it and put a roofing. At great expense, he got iron posts, pillars, and trusses and started to work. At night, all devotees worked hard and fixed the posts. But Baba, when he returned from Chavadi next morning, uprooted them all and threw them out. Once it so happened that Baba got very excited, caught the pole with one hand and began to shake and uproot it, and with the other hand caught the neck of Tatya Patel. He took by force Tatya Patel's fetter and struck a match and set it on fire and threw it in a pit. At that time, Baba's eyes flashed with burning embers. None dared to look at him. All got terribly frightened. Baba took out a rupee from his pocket and threw it there, as if it was an offering of an auspicious occasion. Tatya also was much frightened. No one knew what was going to happen to Tatya. No one dared to interfere. But Gauri Shunda, a Lipa devotee of Baba, made a little boldly advance, but he was pushed out by Baba. Madhav Rao was also similarly treated, and he being pelted with brick pieces. So all those who went to intercede was similarly dealt with. But after some time, Baba's anger cooled down. He sent for a shopkeeper, got from him an embroidered fetter, and himself tied it on Tatya's head, as if he was being given a special honor. All the people were wonderstruck to see the strange behavior of Baba. They were at a loss to know what enraged Baba, and so suddenly what led him to assault Tatya Patil, and why was his anger cooled down in the next moment. Baba was sometimes very calm, quiet, and talked sweet things with love, but soon after, with or without any pretext, got enraged. Many such incidents may be related, but I do not know which to choose and which to omit. I therefore refer to them as they occur to me. In the next chapter, the question whether Baba was a Hindu or Mohammedan will be taken up. His yogic practices and powers and other matters will be dealt with. Bow to Sri Sai Baba, peace to all. Thank you.
Om Parabrahmaya Vimani Shiva Tattvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohanji Devotees. Om Parabrahmaya Vimani Shiva Tattvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohanji Devotees. Om Parabrahmaya Vimani Shiva Tattvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohanji Devotees. Please join us tomorrow for chapters 7 and 8. Jai Mohanji.